So welcome to the treatment room. Andy, we're here again already.
Yeah, it's good filling it back to our regular slots now. We're getting into some good consistency again, which is fantastic.
We are. And it's good to be talking about some things that we're really passionate about today. And I know we're going to talk about customer service. We're going to talk about an upcoming webinar and some staffing issues, or potentially how to head them off. So a little bit of an appetizer to get us going. So customer experience. Now, I know that you and I think we're both advocates, but I would say you're probably the stronger advocate of the customer experience and our 10-step approach. And I know we've both got some really interesting little anecdotes from life in the last 2 or 3 weeks that we thought we might use on this podcast and in this video, just to kind of bring our 10-step process to life. I think you're going to talk about a car key, I think, aren't you?
Well, to start off with, if you're a therapist listening to this for the first time, or listening to us, then, or listening to anything I've witted about in any of my presentations or any stuff, then as a therapist, for me, a therapy business is in the customer service industry, because that's what that's how we've got to deliver it. Therapy is just a means of how we deliver our service. But yeah, and this is both of us this week, haven't we, had a bit of a rant about poor service, and I think it's good that we highlight it, because there's many therapy businesses who are fantastic therapists, but may not have fantastic therapy businesses because of the service they're delivering, and they might not be noticing it or thinking about how it can do. So the examples we're using today is, personally for mine, is around communication within an internal organization, which, and as you grow, if you're listening to this and you've got one treatment bed above an hairdresser's or in the gym, but you've got ambitions to grow, then the more people you get in an organization, the better the communication needs to be in your organization. Absolutely. So my example is this. I recently bought a car and it only came with one key. So I said, well, having a 9-year-old running around trying to get into school and doing favors and stuff, it needs 2 keys. So part of the deal was that what they would do is they would go and get a new key made for me. I'd have to take it to a local dealer and get it coded and fitted. Yep, no problems, fine. And so signed on the dotted line, paid my money there and then, drove the car away. A couple of days later, but it didn't come with a second key. So I was like, oh, okay. Anyway,
there's a surprise, eh?
So I had the conversation with the guy. He obviously, the guy that sold me the car wasn't the guy that delivered the car. And so it was one of those things. So then you went, right, okay. You gave some excuse and then rang them. And they went, oh, I don't really know. I've not dealt with this. No, okay, I understand that. So again, there was no notes on the system. So it was, I'll get back to you in half an hour. Well, no one rang. So then it's back to that inconvenience of, okay, so now I've got to chase and I've got to chase and I've got to chase. And every time you chase, you speak to somebody different. And I was saying to you, wasn't I, that actually every time you speak to someone different, they go, well, it's the first time I've dealt with this, so I don't know anything about it. So hand it on. It becomes a part where up to that point, so going to see the car, going for the test drive, and how the sales guy dealt with myself. And I actually took my mum with me because she wanted, I've actually bought a car that's my mum's dream car. That's what she's always wanted.
Oh, so, I didn't know
that. Yeah. So that's what she always wanted. So the fact that she could come in test drive was more the fact that she wanted, I didn't know at the time. She just, I've always wanted one of them. So it was one of those facts that, so she went, can I come? Yeah, of course you can. And I took my daughter. And the guy was absolutely brilliant. And I mean, generally on the day, the way he treated me, my mum and my daughter, that's what I bought the car on, right?
Yeah.
The fact that it was the car I wanted and the colour I wanted was fine. But I bought it on basically that experience, because he was fantastic with all 3 of us, brilliant, there and then, right. But the problem was the after bit of, it's a key, right? It's like the chocolate on the pillow store, if you've ever heard me tell about this. But the after bit of it really grated at me. And actually, until it was all, it's almost sorted, but until it was, my whole experience just got worse and worse and worse and worse, to the point where I nearly wrote a review to say, this is really poor service.
Mm.
And I know it sounds petty over a key, but how I felt emotionally, and we've got to think about as a customer, I'd paid an awful lot of money for a car, that I'd paid up front. I haven't, so they've got my money. And the after sales I thought was really poor. And so it shows, doesn't it, that sometimes that it's the little details. It's the little details in our own customer service that make a massive thing. Now, I know your circumstance, which of yours is a different level, and I know mine's non-emotional. Well, it's emotional to me, but it's not actually essential in the world.
I think the important thing is, I mean, it's a great it's a great example of what I would call kind of over promising and under delivering. And I guess that's the read across into if you've just got one therapy bed, if you've got 5 treatment rooms, if you've got 3 clinics, whatever the scale of your business, actually keeping promises, aligning individuals within your organization so that people actually know what's being promised and that you follow through, it becomes really important, because you can turn that dream experience with the salesperson or with the therapist or with the receptionist that originally takes the booking, and you're thinking fantastic, or you're reading Google reviews about the clinic and you're thinking this is a fantastic place, I've come on recommendation. You turn up and it doesn't go to plan. Now, we know that life is life, isn't it? So things are always going to go wrong within a system, even if it's one person in the organization. Sadly, we can't be 100% on it all of the time and everything goes perfect. We know that is not possible. But actually, where we are making promises, it's really important that we deliver. And I guess that's where my read across is, because mine touches into the healthcare system in the round. And I could talk about it for ages, but I'll keep it really tight. I mean, what's fascinating to me is I've got the equivalent kind of over-promise and under-deliver at one aspect, in terms of access to a family member who, due to current rules, we actually can't go and see, but actually the promises made have not been kept. So that makes that really difficult, both for us as family members who can't see that individual, but actually it's really important for that individual who is trapped in a system that they don't understand, and don't understand why their family members are not in regular contact with them. So that's the kind of the key in the car story. I think the other element to this for me, and as we're talking to colleagues in a therapy world, you probably understand this system far better than I do, particularly if you've spent any time in the NHS and then in private practice, and that's the fragmentation of systems. So the number of calls and the number of contacts that we have to make to get anything done. And because we don't share, that system doesn't share information across it. So from health into social care into private care, the customer becomes the conduit actually to get good service.
Yeah. So
I find myself sharing information with each part of the system that they're not allowed to understand, that actually, if only they did, they would be enabled to deliver a better service. And again, I guess my read across is, so how does that impact upon your clinic? Because human beings, even if we're working in the same space, often the way we design our work, or the way that people understand or communicate with one another, can cause conflict or indecision, and that whole 10-step process that we talk about to break down. And it's nobody's intention, because I'm assured from the effort that's going in, everybody in that system is trying to do their best. But actually, when you stick it all together, it just doesn't work at all. And I guess that's we bring these 2 examples of the car and the care system back into to this podcast, just to kind of share some real life examples of how things can go wrong, and how it's helpful to be collecting customer information, colleague information about what's going well, what's not going well, And then a bit like your car key, actually having somebody called Scott who actually is going to deliver on the promise and follow it through. And then you kind of rescue the situation, which actually, if only somebody at the start who'd made a promise had kept that promise, you'd have had a perfect customer experience.
Yeah, and I think that, I'm going to go into, I think everyone that makes a promise when they're saying it, I'm not saying everybody, but the majority, there are some people that have got no intention of delivering it, say things with good intention.
Yeah.
So the classic in the therapy world for me is you go, oh, don't you worry, I'm going to email your exercises over because you're running a bit short of time. And then what happens is
I've had that one happen to me as well.
I couldn't, but that couldn't anything be doing me that. And then
no, it wasn't you.
No, okay. But it's like one of those things I thought caught me out there. But someone said, I'm going to send my exercise over, and you don't do it, so the customer's got to chase and chase and chase and chase and chase. And so again, it's the same analogy, isn't it? That we make promises. So I think you're thinking of let's make sure as an organization, and this is where we do highlight these things, and that's our job, to shine lights on things that we might not be thinking about, is to then think about, okay, so when we are saying we're going to do something, have we got the time, the capacity in the organization to do it so that it leaves a good, impression on our customer? So,
and I want to jump across, actually, I'm going to take the third item that we talked about, just to link it into what you've said there, which was, we've got some great content that we've prepared and is going on to the Academy this month about managing grievances, how to avoid them. And actually, I think it's really interesting because if we use your example again, so I know that you've talked to a number of people within that organization about a simple thing, a key. Now, if I was Scott, the guy that's going to solve the problem, I wouldn't be very happy with the sales guy in the other team that let you down. And if there's a pattern of behavior, then actually Scott might decide to take out a grievance, as I'd call it. You've probably got a formal system, or he might just take the other guy outside and give him a stiff talking to, or start putting sugar in his tea, or whatever it is, just to wind him up. So you get that kind of negative behavior within the organization, because Scott's working hard and he perceives that Andy, I'll call him Andy just for anonymity, Andy's great at selling cars, but he doesn't follow through. So we don't get raving fans, we get disgruntled Andys who actually did buy a car, loved the car, but had a bad experience. So that whole thing about how we manage that interaction between colleagues, and then when there is a disgruntled member of the team, how we appropriately investigate, resolve that grievance, ideally before it even becomes a formal matter, is really important, because sadly these things escalate. So just like your key experience might escalate to you giving them a bad review and then naming the organization and telling everybody everywhere you go, never go and buy a car from them because they let you down. Employees can do the same thing within your organization and to your clients and customers, and to their friends and family, and then start to impact upon your employer brand, your relationship in the marketplace. So all because we didn't tackle something fairly basic, nipped it in the bud, as people might say, something escalates into a major issue that then needs lots of time and effort to resolve, and many weeks and months to recover.
And I think it's a big thing. And I think, from the conversations we have, it's especially if you've started to grow and develop your business and you're unsure about how to deal with those things. I know it's this, oh my gosh, I'm a leader, I'm a manager, how do I deal with these kind of grievances, or conversations about me internally. We have put some content on the Academy, haven't we? So there's some content there that,
very much so, that so if you're already an Academy member, it's under the business operations stage. If you're not an Academy member, go and have a look at Academy Lite if you like, because that's a free introduction to the kind of content that is available on the site. And then when you've had a look and you like it, then why not subscribe and take a look at some more detailed content. And I guess, Andy, that takes us on to our final bit for this podcast, which is actually to talk about our upcoming webinar, which I know you're going to lead on.
Yeah, well, so we've asked, if our job of our webinars and at EYC is to help us continue to shine lights on areas of business that people we believe or we get feedback from don't focus on enough. And I think money is always what, in a lot of therapy businesses, for us, when we especially go in and chat to them, we talk around money and we talk around, it's something that they probably could do a little bit better, most of them, if we put it politely. So we asked our good friend, who's Obi Hassan, who has introduced us to last year, and me and Obi have had some really good conversations and created some fantastic content for our academy. So I thought it was time that we put in a live Q&A or a webinar where we got the opportunity. And if you follow our social media, so at Elevate Clinic, Elevate Your Clinic on Facebook, then, or you follow either myself and Phil on LinkedIn, you will see that what we've done is we've created a bit of a poll over what we want to discuss. So there's lots of areas of where we could talk about this, but like you've said about, we've only going to have an hour webinar. So it means, so the idea is we want to try and look and help in this webinar. It's an opportunity to talk around a topic of which the audience and the listeners want to listen to the most. It will be recorded and will be put on our Academy Lite for those people that are unable to or are listening to this after the date of it. Sorry if you didn't get a chance to vote. But the content and the recording will be on our Academy Lite site. So yeah, so Obi Hassan is very happily and welcome going to say he's going to spend some time talking through a topic of choice. So please make sure you do reach out and let us know what you want us to talk around, because I think, very, very knowledgeable man, very good. We've done lots around cash flow. What the difference between having cash in the bank and actually having profit on a balance sheet. What does that mean? We actually did a great seminar talking around what does all these big, these financial documents that accountants keep throwing at us, what do they actually mean and what do they tell us, which was a really good, insightful way of doing it. And then things like how to forecast. So all those kind of things are options that we could be talking about in more detail.
And I got to moderate Obi's session at Therapy Live Business a couple of months ago, which was good experiences as well. So Eventbrite, go and have a look at Elevate Your Clinic on Eventbrite. Look out on social media. If you're already on our mailing lists, then look out for the mailer that invites you to the upcoming webinar with Obi. So I think that kind of rounds us off, Andy. So a quick canter through the customer experience, thinking about the potential for escalation into grievance and the content that's already on the academy there. So go take a look, and then a bit of a warm up for our session, which I think is the 17th of November.
17th of November, yeah.
17th of November with Obi talking all things finance. So until next time, Andy.
Fantastic, Phil. Thanks ever so much. And as always, if there's anything you want to hear from us, then just let us know. Take care.
Take care.